think we've got time for 2 more questions. So we're getting near the end here. Ms. Cedillo, this next question will begin with you. Speaking of transparency, which has been touched on a little bit, what would be your plans to improve transparency in communication with the citizens as Waller County Judge?
Well, I first want to pause and say, to say quickly and easily about anything is part of an experience when it comes to running for public office. Because those words sound awfully powerful, but quickly and easily is not necessarily done when it comes to developing transparency, for example. Why? Because policies have to be developed in conjunction with our district attorney, because they have to review information, and because often there are disagreements among the government leaders, what we want, what the DA says we can do. There's all kinds of different things there. But in terms of transparency, for sure, I would definitely support, if we could do it, develop a successful policy. I'm not saying we can't. I'm just saying I'm not going to rush into doing anything as an elected leader, because I don't think that's a good policy. I don't think that's a good policy. I want to make sure that we do have much better information being presented to the public, being provided to the public. One of the things I like about certain school districts, when you go to their meetings, for example, their data in terms of the agenda item, as well as the materials that go with that item, are posted on a board there so that people can see it. And again, that's where the resource of Prairie View A&M University is critical to integrate with Waller County, because they have a TV station. A lot of the mechanisms for increasing open government, increasing transparency already exist with regard to working with Prairie View A&M University. And I think that's incredibly critical for the county. Why? Because it's a saving of resources. It's a saving of resources in some respect, and it's professionalizing and giving those students incredible opportunities. And for sure, I think we need to have financial information. We need to have the regular commissioner's court information being posted. But I also want to say, if we're about to demand and say to a county clerk who is an elected official in her own right, this is what we want you to do, again, experience says you don't do that. Because the county clerk is entitled to, all of the purview responsibilities of her office. And only the taxpayers, only the voters can tell a clerk what to do with regard to what they post and how they handle their records. So I want to be very careful about getting into that arena. But for sure, I support transparency. I want people to be better informed. I don't want people to find out about something that's years down the road, such that it affects them. One of the things that was a surprise to me coming in as a county commissioner was that mobility plans had been done years before. All kinds of huge projects had been planned, but they weren't necessarily talked about at the time. And so a lot of planning has been done with regard to utilities and roads and housing. All of that has been planned. And so our goal is to make sure you have access to that information in the best legal way possible. And forgive me for putting on my lawyer's cap, but I gotta say it in the best legal way possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cedillo. And I've got to say, I apologize. I think Trey should have actually led off with this question. You'll lead off with the next question, the final question. So, Mr. Duhon, what are your plans if elected Waller County Judge to improve transparency and communication with the citizens?
Well, I think my last answer, I spent quite a bit of time talking about transparency on a number of levels. I think there's definitely a difference here from someone who's been in county government and somebody who's not. When I'm proposing, for example, that the meetings be broadcast online, and I know that it can be done easily and quickly, I don't want to hear can't. I don't want to hear excuses. People want transparency, and they want it now. I don't know if I would have an easy time working with another public official that is not committed to transparency. And let me talk about that issue. For example, the county clerk was brought up, and she is an elected official. Campaign finance reports, they are filed with the county clerk's office. They used to be online. They used to be on the elections page. They were taken down over a year ago. I have been asking and pleading for campaign finance reports to be put back online. I don't care where. I don't care if it's the county clerk's part of the website or the elections office. And I will tell you this, if I'm an elected county judge, if I have to, I'll go get the campaign finance reports myself and I'll put them on the county judge's part of the website. Because people have a right to know those reports are filed, they're filed in a timely manner, and that the information that's contained in those reports, which by the way goes to transparency, that's why you file them. That's why you disclose who's giving you money and where you're spending it, because people have a right to know. That information should be online, and there should not be an excuse. There should not be a legal battle between the county clerk or the DA's office. It's public information. We have a right to know. And if somebody tells you or gives you an excuse on why that shouldn't be done that way, you should question their motives. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Duhon. For our final question this evening, we talked earlier about what your first topic on your agenda would be if elected into office, and Trey, you'll begin with this question. Please tell us, if elected Waller County Judge, an important short-term objective of yours and an important long-term objective of yours as Waller County Judge.
I would say, okay, short-term objective, besides the things I've already outlined here today as far as open and transparent government, facilities is going to be a pressing issue that's going to have to be addressed immediately. The jail cannot continue going the way it's going. We're spending a lot of time and money trying to keep these buildings together. We have to figure out the right way to do it and where the money's going to be spent and come up with a plan to address that. So that would be something short-term. I would also add in the waste management plan. Within the first 90 days, we have to at least begin the process. We have to. It's been long enough. As far as long-term, I would like to see comprehensive long-range plans put into place. A 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, and a 25-year plan. Those plans would enable us to start looking down the road and start anticipating now what those issues are going to be, so we don't get caught off guard 25 years down the road. So we don't have somebody come in who wants to do some kind of project and we go, wow, we don't have any regulations on that. We have no ordinance and there's nothing we can do about it, which is what happened in the case of the landfill, because nobody knew we were supposed to have a waste management plan put in place years ago. You have to have a plan. So I would like to see us have those long-range plans which will enable us to start talking about all of the issues that are going to happen when we have all the growth. And by the way, for a long term, we need to continue being as fiscally responsible as we can. Grow the tax base, increase tax revenue, maintain quality of life, or raise it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Duhon. Ms. Cedillo, please tell us one important short-term objective and one important long-term objective for you as Waller County Judge.
One of the most important things I think we need to do at the county level, of course, is for the county judge to develop good working relationships. Partisanship aside, it is about developing good working relationships. And I think it's incumbent upon the county judge to make sure that she takes the time to meet with every single elected judge, every single department head throughout Waller County, to make sure that I know what they need, because that is important. What do you need? What are you finding lacking here? What can the county help you with? What has been an issue that you have faced in the last 3 to 5 years that may not have been addressed while you were in office? I want to work with the team of county officials, with the team of department heads, so that we can serve the public, which is exactly what we are supposed to do. It's exactly what we are supposed to do. And I want to know that they believe that there is an open door policy. That's critical. And I'd like to make sure that we're all on the same page, that we all understand. And if we don't, then encourage people to go out and get training or have their staff get training, because that is how we improve. That is how we improve. And that is something that is not going to be done in 90 days necessarily, based on what I find. So I think that's important. And of course, the long-term goal is to plug people in as much as possible from the county with regard to efficient, good planning. I totally believe in good planning services. I had the opportunity to be at the city of Magnolia the other day. They have a phenomenal 20-year plan that they have made public, that had great public participation from stakeholders and professionals of all kinds. That's what I envision for Waller County, to make sure that we can access as many free services, I'm going to say it, free services as we can use, because we pay to be members of the Houston-Galveston Area Council. We pay as a county using your tax dollars to be a member of the Texas Association of Counties. I want to make sure that we can have the best resources possible, spend money where we need to, bring stakeholders to the table, and this is not done in one fell swoop. It's certainly done over time. Planning is done over time. What are we going to do about the basic resources of air, land, and water? What are we going to do about green spaces? What are we going to do to make sure that Waller County has a good, well-trained workforce that is educated, that can do the jobs that are coming to Waller County? I think that's critically important, and I truly believe in that. Planning is critical. And what are we going to do about the population that we have in Waller County that is a very young population and a very senior population? What are we going to do? How are we going to make sure that people have adequate services? Have adequate services. Because whether you know it or not, the county has to set aside a certain percentage of our budget for low-income services. And a lot of times what officials do, I'll tell you from my experience, is they count on that money being put back in because it's not going to be used. But there's a reason that counties have to do that. And are we doing what we're supposed to do by law with that tax money to make sure that we have the healthiest, strongest, most literate, educated, comfortable, and satisfied people in Waller County? So that Waller County is a great place to live and work. I say that because the average person who works in Waller County drives 31 minutes to their job. And I bet there are people in here who commute long-term to their job. The job of the county judge is to figure out in her planning, what do we do so people can stay closer to home and enjoy their lives a whole lot more than they do now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cedillo.